Welcome back to another episode of Soul Hygiene, my brave and beautiful humans. I'm excited to finally have Mr. Don with us today. Um, we have talked back and forth for a little while, for a couple months, but I'm excited for you guys to meet him. Um, if you have issues with math, this would be the guy to go to for all questions math. I have been in corporate accounts receivable for over 20 some years. So math is kind of my thing, but I can't say that I am good at what he does. Mine, uh, mine is very grade school compared to the knowledge that he has when it comes to mathematics. So he has mathcelebrity.com. I encourage you to go see it. You can punch in a problem there, get an answer. But he does little videos too. So I'm excited for you guys to get to know him. He's also written a children's book, and I don't know if he's written other ones besides the one that I've seen, but I'm gonna turn it over to my new friend, Mr. Don, and let him tell us a little bit about himself. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Yes, I have written a few other non-children's books, but probably the best use for those is if you have insomnia, just read one of those and you'll be asleep in 2 minutes.
I'm
But
sure
yeah,
that's not the case.
uh, you're being too kind. But yeah, I'm probably best known for the math tutoring site. I've been doing it for 16 years now. It's an automated online math tutor. You could think of it like a Google for math. So you just put your math problem in, push the button, and shows you the step-by-step work as well as the answer. So it's been fun to help a lot of people. We got 8.1 million unique visitors last year, and hopefully it keeps growing. But it's been fun to have an impact.
I have seen you do your videos, where you actually do the math problems. And there's some ways that you do math that I was like, whoa, I didn't even think about that. But it all works out. So it's very interesting, all the tricks that you give in your videos. Can you tell them a little bit about your children's book that you just wrote? Because that I really like that book.
Yeah, sure. This was it's called Animals with Superpowers, Volume One. And so one day I was just reading some books to my kids, and they had asked about certain animals, and I told them about, I believe it was the pistol shrimp. And it's a little shrimp that fires this air bubble bullet, and it's so strong that it knocks out the other fish, and then they just proceed to eat it. So my kids were fascinated and like, what other animals have superpowers? So I started telling them, and then my wife said one day, "Why don't you just write a book about them? Because I'm sure more kids would like to know about this." So that's how it originated.
So is this your book's on Amazon? Because I'm pretty sure that's where I bought it from,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So it's volume one. What was it? Fish with what was the title again?
Animals with superpowers.
Animals with superpowers. I know that
Yeah.
you were doing a lot with the ocean animals, so I was thinking fish or aquatics, but yes. Are you going to be doing more children's books? So this is volume one. Or do you have volume two, three, four ready to go
Definitely
yet?
two and three. I've been
Okay.
writing two because my kids are already hounding me. When's it coming out? When's it coming out? So we're working on volume two now.
Well, now I'm hounding you. When is it coming out? When's volume?
Yeah, I
I'll
got to
be
step it
message
up.
I'll be messaging you in a couple months to see if you're done yet. So
Oh,
that's
that's funny.
amazing. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How you obviously you're married, you got kids, and what is if you were to think about soul hygiene, how do you think that that would uh how would that pertain to your life? Like what would you say that that could help, or are there things that you do in the morning? Do you have a routine in the morning that to get you through the day?
Yeah, usually when I wake up, I try to grab a little snack or maybe go for a walk. But with respect to soul hygiene, I try to sit down with a notebook and pen or paper, no phone if possible, and just think about what I'd like to accomplish for that day. And
Mhm.
then from the other side of that coin, what behaviors that I've been engaging in that I like to avoid. So I like to approach soul hygiene more from the other side with something called inversion. So for your listeners that don't know, Warren Buffett's partner, Charlie Munger, who recently passed, talked about a mental model he used in his investments in life called inversion. And so he said, instead of trying to find out how to do something well, especially something new, think about all the ways you do to hurt your progress and then just eliminate those behaviors. And the miracle of that is you get something called addition by subtraction. So as you start eliminating, it's easier to take away than it is to add with most things in life. So an example of this is I'd say 2 years ago, and it's a great name, by the way, Soul Hygiene. I was thinking about what behaviors am I engaging in with my family that I can improve. And this started with the morning journal that I was talking to you about. And I realized every day I have to lean on, or I was leaning on caffeine, not a lot, but like 40 to 60 milligrams. And I noticed it was becoming more of like, I can't wait till 11 o'clock so I can have my Bai bubbles or my energy drink. And then I thought to myself, maybe that's the problem, right? So we were on vacation one day in Missouri, and I said, I ran out of buys, and I'm like, I'm not going to go to the grocery store. I'm just going to take 5 days off. So the first 2 days, you get the headaches, a little bit of withdrawal. By the third day, I noticed when I was writing in my journal, my kids and I didn't have any arguments. My wife and I got along much better. But the biggest change was I was way more present, way more
Mm.
present. So when I used to have caffeine, it was all right, I'm going to suck down this energy drink. I'm going to go run and do work on my business. And anything in between, I'm going to try to make it go fast. And I got rid of those bad behaviors. And as a result, the relationship between me and my wife and me and my kids improved vastly. So that's a big part of my morning routine is I like to ask myself, what bad or dumb behaviors am I engaging in? And if I just stop doing them, things would get so much better.
I love that you said that, and I had heard of Charlie Munger, obviously, who was the partner with Warren Buffett. I had never heard of that though, the inversion technique. So that is really interesting and very true. It is easier to take away, right, something than it is to add it because to add it, it has to become a habit. You have to intentionally make it a habit where it's easier just to cut something out. So I really like that. I was just gonna ask you something about oh my goodness, it just slipped my mind. It's gone. Um it happens. This whole thing is unedited, so we uh we just roll with it. Um I know you had mentioned something. Oh, the caffeine thing. Um I am working my way towards not drinking caffeine. I did find, this whole mushroom coffee thing is a big deal right now. So before that, I was starting to take lion's mane and all these like natural mushrooms, which were working. But I have found, and I won't mention the name obviously, but a mushroom coffee that really um has really helped me. Really kick that caffeine habit. And caffeine is sometimes I think it's more addictive than, the things that we think are addictive, like cigarettes and all of that. But sugar and caffeine are two of the most addicting substances, I think, that we put into our bodies. And I know when I started my intentional journey, it was sugar was one thing that I noticed was okay, I need to really look at this and see what my relationship is with food. And that was part of my soul hygiene journey, because soul hygiene has to do with everything we do in our lives. And so what I was putting into my body was part of my hygiene, right? I needed to eliminate that. But since I started, decreasing the caffeine, I agree with you. It really gives you more clarity. You don't have those up and down mood swings. I have multiple sclerosis, so I already have mood swings sometimes. I don't need the additional caffeine creeping in there and helping those out. So yeah, that was um Yeah, but I like that you said that because not everybody realizes what that can do to your body, right? So, um, do you have any, like, really fun stories or, anything that you can relate to soul hygiene or, maybe some things that you went through, like a story you went through, in life that really you had to look back on and change your mindset?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this. So recently, I came across this concept, and it's more for men, but I think your audience will find value in it. It's something called extreme ownership. So the concept of that is you are the creator and the allower of everything in your life.
Mhm,
And when I first heard this, it was equal parts terrifying and fascinating because one of the things I wanted to do, and this was probably a year after I got rid of the caffeine and made the dietary changes, is I still had changes to make. And the extreme ownership mindset is always be working on yourself, and your environment around you will adjust. I used to say there's just some people I just didn't get along with, and I would automatically almost like cringe up inside if I had to talk to them. But then when I switched to the extreme ownership model, I asked myself, what behaviors or energy am I bringing to this interaction that's causing that person to make me feel uncomfortable, or I'm trying to speed up the reaction. And so one of the things I did with extreme ownership is I just started looking at all the thoughts and energy I'm bringing to any interaction, whether it's friends, family, strangers. And I said, I'm going to take responsibility for everything. So part of this theory, which is frightening, is let's pretend you're a good person. You don't bother anybody. You do your job. You leave well enough alone. You're nice to people. But you walk down the street, and for whatever reason, somebody either bumps into you on purpose or they just get upset with you. Non-extreme ownership would say, well, what did that person do? I'm a nice person. Extreme ownership says, I somehow brought the energy into that interaction to bring that on myself. It's completely frightening at first. But when I figured that out, I said, how can I start my day to have a better sort of energy? And
mhm.
I'm an introvert by nature, right? So I'm not super social around people I don't know. But I said, today, I'm going to walk into Chipotle. I'm going to smile at all the staff, and I'm going to ask at least two of them how their day is going. And I'm not a small talk person. I get teased about this all the time. I'm very direct and to the point. So I started doing this at two local Chipotles. And wouldn't you know it, the next, I think it was, let me check, 7 times I went in there, I got free food 3 of those times. Free chips, free drink, or a coupon like, hey, come back, we'll give you a free entree next time. I didn't ask for it. I didn't go into that room with the intention of getting anything free. But when I walked out of there, I said, holy crap, like what just happened? I'm the same guy wearing the same clothes, same person, but really am I the same person? I brought a different energy into the interaction. And so that's when extreme ownership kind of bowled me over. Is a lot of this is and I think maybe you and I have chatted about on Facebook about it, but Jim Rohn, the famous self-development guru, said,
Yes.
work on yourself harder than you do at your job. And
Yes.
I've never forgotten that. And so the extreme ownership is kind of like my soul hygiene joy story, is if we can adjust our internal energy and the
Mhm.
way we approach interactions, our external world will adjust itself around us. It's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen.
That is amazing that you said that. I just posted in our private group for soul hygiene the other day, the people you entertain is what your world is like. If you're going to entertain negative people, negative energies, things that are harmful to you, you're going to attract those types of people. But if you start entertaining positive people and start looking at Account I accountability, responsibility, taking ownership of your actions, you're gonna find that your whole world changes and all these different kinds of people come into your life, right? So, that's and that's my story. Like, I was around 25 years of abuse, picking the same type of person to be with because what I thought I that's what I thought I was attracted to or what I was worth, you know? but it was abusive relate because I kept those people and that energy in my life. And after I stepped off that precipice of almost ending my life and was like, no, I want different, I want better, it was like this whole different world of people came in. And now I just like I have people like you and I have all these, people with the podcast coming into my life that just bless me every single day because I learn so much and I'm the type of person I want to grow and I want to learn every day. I want to learn something new every day. So you've blessed me because now I've learned two things today that really, fit completely in with what soul hygiene is about. And that amazes me because the right people come. They always say, what did in I live in Iowa, so I always use Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come.
No, you bring up a great point. I mean, when you talk about what are you allowing in your life, it's such a great mantra to live by because almost what's the quote, silence implies consent, and I think you could say the same thing about allowing. If you're hanging around people or places that don't give you joy and you
Right.
continually go to that place, at some point you have to take ownership and say this is just not a part of my life and
Yeah.
just let it go.
And that was when I started soul hygiene. That was one of the things I had to do. I had to take accountability for my role in choosing those people to be in my life for 25 years and take the responsibility of, okay, now I've taken this accountability. Now I have to forgive. Whether I ever get an I'm sorry, which I never will, I still have to forgive to release that negative energy to be able to move on. And a lot of that has to do with that accountability. And then when you release all of that, it's amazing for me what God brought into my life, the strength and the determination, the persistence. Because I wouldn't say I was an introvert. I was okay, but I'm a shy person when I get in front of people face to face in person. But the podcast has kind of helped me meet people and get out of that shell and be like, you know what, I can do this and believe in myself that there's so much more to life. There's hope and there's joy and there's happiness. And if we just get outside of ourselves and it's not always about us, I mean, that's what we're here for, right? To serve other people. It's amazing what happens. So, um,
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a great point of what's the old saying, nature abhors a vacuum. So when you let go of those old emotions, you made
yeah,
room for the good stuff to come in your life. It's a great example.
yeah, for sure. I love that. I love that quote. So, is there any thing that you do where people can reach out to you? Do you entertain phone calls, emails, questions?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to find me is either mathcelebrity.com. If you send a message, it goes straight to me. And then probably the social media or social network I'm most active on is LinkedIn. So if you
Okay.
could just go to LinkedIn and search for my name and you'll find me there.
Okay, wonderful. I'll put like always, we'll put Mr. Don's information in the bio, but he's been such a blessing and I'm gonna talk him into coming back on the podcast when he finishes the second book. So I'll be bugging him about that. When is it gonna be done? But yeah, we'll definitely have him back on. And I'm putting this out there now. I am starting a reading channel at some point this year. And I'm sure Mr. Don wouldn't mind me reading his book on there. So, um, give him all the accolades and get people to go buy it, get it on the bestseller list. So, um, we'll get that done. But thank
Awesome.
you so much, everyone, for joining me for another episode. Have a wonderful evening.